Hello and welcome to the ReEvolve Media Revolution podcast, where we interview hip-hop artists from across Canada and learn the different approaches taken towards the craft and how artists create and develop alter egos that evolve with their own personalities over time. Today's episode features Nolan Ryan. One fascinating thing about artists and human beings in general, we don't often consider how the character they portray is part of the work. Some do this intentionally, while others completely subconsciously. It becomes more obvious when we consider how many artists make up names different from their own, often presenting an unfiltered view on the world that may be sensitive or even counter to their actual beliefs. A parallel with this to society is how people portray themselves on Instagram or other social media outlets, in a way pushing boundaries and viewing life from a unique perspective that is not as effective outside of the character. The individual presents themselves as who they see best fits the themes they wish to explore or the identity they wish to portray, confined within the understanding of their views and experience. An analogy that comes to mind for artists is that the songs are the pages, the albums, EPs, or other collections are the chapters, and the artist is the book with a beginning, an end, and potential sequels or derivative work. Nolan Ryan mentions an upcoming rebranding in this podcast, and as you'll see moving forward, that is the plan for myself as well. I used to view moves like this as abandoning previous efforts. Why would you want to rewrite the same book from scratch when you've already come so far? I take it would be a similar reason as to why, if given the opportunity, most of us would travel back in time with our current knowledge at hand. The benefits are substantial. A new book, a fresh story, characters that have an advanced understanding of what was previously uncharted territory, a new way to present the self that feels more in tune with the growth that has been achieved that wasn't possible prior. Maybe it's common for people to fear change because they fail to associate it with growth. When I do that now, I become terrified of becoming stagnant. So here's to growth. Here's to everything we've learned in the past and to every challenge we will face in the future. And here's Nolan Ryan. What is up, everyone? I've got Nolan Ryan here with me. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Just keeping it alive, you know?
Keeping it alive. That's all we can do these days. You're born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta. And what I've got here is that you handle all your behind the scenes work for your brands. And is that your brands Nolan Ryan and No Question Who, or are they kind of two separate brands?
Yeah, so like you said, yeah, born and raised Edmonton, Alberta. I do pretty much, handle everything. They are separate. Essentially, No Question Who Productions is the fuel to fund Nolan Ryan.
Interesting.
I just wanted to keep it all in the same space and just learning that aspect. So if I do dive into things, my own personal things, and I can maybe separate a little more from No Question Who Productions and be like, when I'm working on my videos with videographers or mixing engineers, whatever, I know the front and back of it. So there's never like, a curtain that I'm like, oh, okay, sure, just go ahead and do whatever. Or I want it to sound like this, but I can't explain it, you know?
Interesting. So would you say that it kind of began with No Question Who?
It was kind of a hybrid. It really began with I wasn't super confident in my sound, and so instead of me going to studio and dumping a bunch of money in there and getting tracks that I'd throw away, I slowly invested in a little Audio Technica mic and some Logic Pro, and me and a buddy would just kind of record on instrumentals. And then from there, I was more looking at it like, why would I spend thousands of dollars here? That stuff I might throw away when I could spend $1,000 in education and then have all that stuff that I throw away, but I never really lose that money because I have that knowledge.
Interesting. So let's talk about that educational background. Thousands of dollars. Where'd you pour it into?
So initially leaving school, high school, I dove into this little entry program at Power Sound, which is now Velveteen Studios. That was like I think 3 to 4 month program. It was really more entry course, and they just kind of went over the basics: compression, EQ, recording, all that. From there, pretty much just trial and error, working with local artists. And then I finally decided to step it up a bit. And I went to Pixel Blue College in Edmonton here. And I got that all funded through a grant. So I actually didn't pay for that.
That's solid, bro. How'd you scoop up that grant? Is it just through your previous work?
So that I was in the studio with an artist. And the one guy I was talking about going to LA for school, like Full Sail or something like that. And he said, honestly, there's a place in Edmonton that's, because he went to LA. And he said, LA is very money based. So if you don't, it's pretty much like, you go to your classes, you learn from the instructor, and then they just want that payment at the end of the month. There's no like one-on-one time. I mean, there is, but it was very like touch and go, and there's like so
Yeah.
many people. So it's like he said, honestly, the best thing to do is go to this. So he showed me this company called Prospect, and their whole philosophy is like, if you can no longer work in the current field you're in, then we'll get you the funding to get to the knowledge and the skills, the training to be in the new field. So actually, a bunch of drunken night fights kind of was the usual in my high school days, and a little bit post high school. There was a fight that broke out on White Ave, and I ended up getting my orbital shattered.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so
Was it contact with the fist or with the ground?
yeah, so with the fist. So this one guy was going off
Bro.
on my buddy, and long story short, I knew the fight was going to happen, so I ate my pizza quick, and then I went to swing at this guy, and this guy's like 6'5", and his buddy who's
Yeah.
5'5" is right there on the left of me, and he just had a clean shot, one hit, shattered me, and that was pretty much it. So then just recovery from there, and then I just like he told me about this whole thing, so I was in construction with my dad, so I like used this whole story, which is like valid because my eye was messed up. So like cutting
Yeah.
steel and all that stuff is pretty dangerous.
For sure, for sure.
So then I went to Prospect and I said, yeah, this is my situation. Here's a doctor's note looking at this whole thing funded. And they set up the program that it was 14,995. So it would just meet that 15 grand requirement.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. So then go through that whole process, and yeah, they ended up covering it all.
Holy crap. And so how many years of experience in the industry did you have before this?
I would say I had a good, I went there probably 20, I was probably 23 or 24. So I'd say I was roughly like 4 or 5 years in, but it was a lot of
Okay.
like get with the buddies, get stoned, work on some music, very like touch and go part-time stuff.
Yeah, okay. Almost like I don't know if the word amateur is appropriate to use in this scene.
Yeah, I would definitely say amateur. It was really to step it above amateur. That's why I went to Pixel Blue.
Yeah, or I don't know if it's fair to say that's like because it's still technically underground music if it's not mainstream, right? But it was like
Yeah.
the less professional sounding, I guess, beforehand.
Yeah, it was a lot of presets, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm just going to do this, and it sounds decent enough. But
I see what you're saying.
it was your typical the garage band music, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, the garage band music. That's crazy, man. That's interesting to hear. So, roughly when was this that you right before you got into the school? Sorry, just to timestamp it.
Let's see. I always like to reference the diploma there because it keeps me on my
Hey,
timelines.
that's
Let's
beauty,
see.
man.
So 2014 is
Was
roughly
when you
when we.
finished?
Yeah, I think we started early January. And actually, the worst part about it is I was driving with a buddy to a party, and we had like 1 or 2 shots of Henny, and we're driving there, and I had to turn around because I made this wrong turn, and there was a RCMP there, so he pulled me over. And long story short, he breathalyzed me. I tried to convince him, no, it's all good, and I was legal
Bro.
limit, but
Yeah.
I had the GDL, so you can't drink type thing. So they
Yeah,
just kind of
or zero tolerance.
yeah. So I ended up getting my license suspended, so I was busing to school. So it was the full school experience.
Damn, dude. And is that the reference in your track Blessings?
Yeah, that actually is.
That's
That was because
crazy.
it was that same friend. There was a situation with him there, and there was a situation where we're in this like very public parking lot that was like way out in the back area of this like public parking lot where like it was 2 vehicles, and the RCMP pulled in, and we were like hot box mid blunt, and they
Oh,
pulled up, and
so this is a reference to 2 separate occasions, but on the same line?
yeah,
Okay,
because
sorry to interrupt the story, but yeah, go for it.
oh no, that actually now that I think about it, there's like same homie, but 3 situations with the cops. There's the one in
3.
the one in the so the first situation was the blazing. We were hotboxed, and like this car was like no tint. It was like the blunt's still burning, and they pull in, and RCMP is the worst. Like they're gonna check
Oh, dude,
you
for
know.
sure. Yeah.
So they literally pulled in, and a part of me was just like, I don't know. I feel like we're good, but I'm like, we're literally fucked here. And they just turned around and drove off, and then
That's crazy. No warning, no nothing.
no, didn't even like, hey, what are you guys doing here? You're the only vehicle other than this like camper that looks abandoned. And then the second one was like I don't condone obviously drinking and driving, and I mean stupid kid, but we were like probably like between like 4 or 5 of us, a 40s deep of Belvedere, and then maybe like a quarter or halfway through another bottle, and like literally just driving. And they pulled us over, and he had curfew, and I was like, shouldn't be driving. And
Yeah.
he's like, walk over to me, and he said, what's going on? And I just, hey man, like, I've been working nights, 7 days a week. I'm just exhausted, like da da da. I'm like, all right, well, you guys can head her home. I feel like the situation was it was like 4 a.m. and he's like, I don't want to go to do this paperwork, and like
For sure.
they're like a block from their house. I don't know, but that was that. And then the other one was just like, yeah,
Oh,
that
you
was
were a
legal
block
limit.
away. That probably saved you too.
I think that was the big key because he's like, man, they're
Yeah.
home. Like, what are they gonna
Yeah.
do? So yeah, I mean,
And then the
so
third?
the third one was that one where I like was legal limit and they
Oh,
like
okay,
let me
okay.
go. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. That's wild, bro.
yeah.
I forgot what brought up these stories though.
Yeah, I
Which
don't
part
know.
we were at.
It was about taking the bus, maybe, I think. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
to
yeah.
school, right? And also
Yeah.
the funny thing is that was the homie that I started recording with, like me and him.
Is that Eric Rush?
No, that was E-Man. His rap name was Cough.
Cough, okay.
He had
I
a, he
just
had
threw
a
a random
bunch of
guess at there.
names. So
Yeah. Well, I can't find any of your music before 2018, but I'm sure you've got a decent amount of releases or stuff that you have put out since you got out of school around 2014.
yeah, a lot of that stuff. There's different pseudonyms and different SoundClouds. They're probably like a lot of them live within SoundCloud.
Hey.
Nothing ever hit the streams until Nolan Ryan, which was that Cheese mixtape.
Yo. What were your
That
aliases beforehand?
the first one was I think it was just No Question was the original one.
Okay.
So the first guy I was working with initially, he's like, we need to think of a name for you. He's like, No Question, that's the one. So we ended up kind of rocking with that. That was like
Just
producer
landed
pseudonym
on it and
everything.
ran with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of went with that. And then very, very, very first was Radius. That was the beginning. And then there was some kind of intermittent names that never stuck. They were like a single song. And then it went to No Question. And then eventually I adapted Nolan Ryan there. And that's been the go.
Interesting. Were the transitions in what you called yourself, were they like vital changes, or were they just kind of like organic changes or like big life changing moments? You know what I mean?
I'd say Radius was just getting away from that, the original name. And then No
Okay.
Question was kind of just like,
Branding.
it's everything is the same. IGs, Twitters, all that stuff. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
the Nolan Ryan one was definitely the shift because like I was named after Nolan Ryan, the baseball player.
Oh, interesting. See, that's the when I googled your name, that's the first thing that came up, and I'm like, okay, time to dig a little deeper. But I didn't know it was after that.
Yeah, it's funny because when people say look at my music on YouTube, it's like Nolan Ryan, the baseball player. Like, bro, like you got to be bigger than this Hall of Famer to pop up.
Yeah, yeah.
so
Interesting. It's not your birth name?
no, that's not my birth name.
Ooh, okay. Let's talk about it.
So yeah, so I was named after a baseball player, and the whole tie of everything together was like I feel like growing up throughout my childhood, there's a lot of I was like in a sense, parents are working, so I was in a sense raised by my friends, raised by the daycare system, your
Yeah, I
peers.
feel you on that. Yeah.
So a lot of influence in that sense, and I was very like subjective to like like when I was young, one friend of mine said we were eating like pigs, and he's like, bro, what are you like on a diet? You trying to lose weight? I was like, no, man. So then I just like overate and became a fat kid. And then like the whole concept of like I would kind of tie this into like the partying and the fighting and stuff in the sense of like everybody's going to the bar, getting drunk, looking for girls, being aggressive, being a big tough guy. So all of that was kind of I look at the way I break it down is like my building blocks were sand and sticks that everybody else kind of built.
Yeah.
So eventually certain like relationship things happened with female that kind of brought me back to earth, and then I reset it and I'm just like I'm gonna build myself with a concrete foundation to the point where like no female, no life occurrence, no death, no anything, no outside opinion can really affect my foundation. Like if I fall, I'm only falling like a few centimeters. I'm not dropping down back to the ground.
Yeah, off of this like rickety, shitty thing that other people made. That's
Exactly. And
crazy.
then
That's interesting.
so then I looked at the whole Nolan Ryan situation. It's like I was named after him, and so back to that whole situation of like letting other people dictate my life is like my football number when I played football is I always wanted like 25 because that was my favorite player's number, and they gave me 34, and I was like, man, I don't want 34. Like I just like hated the
Shit.
number, and then
Yeah.
one day I just noticed it in my football picture. I was like, man, I'm 34, and that's Nolan Ryan's number, 34.
That's crazy.
So then all kind of tied back, and then I got it tatted on my hands because just like I want it to be like the first thing people say, like, "Oh, what's this tattoo mean?" I'm an artist. This is my pride. This is my passion. This is my journey.
This is the story I've created.
Exactly. So there's I don't want to give too much information, but there's a rebranding in the near future where I'm going to fully take shape of the my I do like the name, the brand, like the image of that I'll become. Like that will be my lineage and like what I'll propel myself to, success. So I do have a
Yeah.
rebranding in the works, but I'm just kind of like making sure Nolan Ryan is fully fleshed out and like everything's out there, and then I can really dive in.
That's awesome, man. I love that, and I kind of figured that something was coming.
Hmm.
Given there's been a few hints dropped, but let's. I'm super curious because you've brushed on the topics a little bit, and there's like huge contrast in your music from the first stuff I can find in 2018, your 4-track Cheese there, and
Hmm.
for like obvious reasons, and then your stuff now. So let's talk about Cheese for a bit.
Cheese. So cheese was
Cheese.
sitting in the vault for a while, and
I would imagine.
yeah, it was a mixture of like, finding my sound. My sound to my heart is like, like Chris Brown, pop R&B, Bryson Tiller, Tory Lanez kind of sound. That's really like
Yeah.
the soul stuff. But I've always was surrounded by rappers and artists, so I was always okay. I'm gonna go with that lane, and then I did kind of base myself based off judgment of peers and like just like the industry of like, okay, trap music and rap music, and and I know I'm not gonna state that like it was fugazi. Like everything I've ever said in a track definitely has substance to it, but it wasn't true to my sound. But with Cheese, so I sat on Cheese for a while, and the beginning of the year came. No, that was before this. So backtrack. So Cheese, yeah. So there's like a kind of like a double entendre in a sense, or like a hidden meaning, like the fact of like it's cheesy because it's all like trap music in a sense, but at the same time it was
Yeah.
just like
It's
tying
like
all those songs together and like finding my way through that sound, I guess.
interesting. So like just kind of in a sense, it's hard to say it because the cheesiness actually kind of references it kind of quite enough, but it is kind of just like it was like a necessary step or a necessary evil or a necessary whatever it was. It was necessary.
Yeah, I just wanted to like flesh out that lane and just be like, okay, let's go. I mean, I was definitely more amateur at that level, but like, well, let's just go with this. See this pop. See if people take to this, and like my image, my style, my vibe, and then my passion and my heart too weren't 100% in it. So I feel like that's where the resistance came of like, yeah, it was amateur. Yes, it was not true to my foundation. And people can like subconsciously see through that. A true listener, I'd say.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's I guess the reason I'm pointing out the contrast because it is a lot of in the project itself. I could only find actually two of the tracks. One of the tracks just a remix of. Sorry, three of the tracks. One of the tracks being just a remix, and then it's Deep and Dark in the Night, which you did two music videos for as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then you did focus on kind of like the heavier, darker subject matter, which is against the grain for the majority of your music that you're putting out these days. And you said you were sitting on it for quite a while. Is there a reason that that's kind of the way it is?
I feel like it was just a point in my life where I was at, in the sense of like, just working with homies on lucrative stuff and like being involved around people that are, involved in lucrative stuff, and just like trying to find my own lane and where like I really fit. And
Along with the music shit.
yeah, and like a lot of the darkness is more just like internal struggles of like really embracing what I'm going through and like understanding that a gem I found recently, which is like it's been repeated over millions of times, but in this St. John interview, he talks about your dream, and he says like your dream is for you to see, like only you're gonna see it. Like everybody's gonna say I don't believe you, or they believe you, but they don't because they don't see it. It's for you to dream, for you to build, for you to show them. And that was the struggle I found. Why don't people see this? Why don't people encourage this? Why are people so resistant towards this?
Interesting. I like that. So it's essentially saying that nobody can really truly see the image or as the way that you see it, and you can only try and get closer and closer to making them have that vision as well.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it. Is really that like, in a sense of God, God has given you this journey, God has given you this path and this vision, and like that's for you to see and for you to accomplish, and like you can't force it down their throat because they don't see out your eyes. They don't see the time you put in, the effort you put in, the work, the money you've invested. They just see the facts that are in front of them. So then for you to be so hard on yourself by like, wow, they don't appreciate me doing this and this and that and spending this money and doing this and so on and so forth. It's like it's your dream. It's you literally see the top of the mountain, they only see the bottom of it. So how do you expect them to like see the top when like it's your eyes you're looking through? They're looking through their own eyes, you know, and maybe their own eyes are very critical of like that's not realistic. Or right now, I do not see that happening for you. Like right now, your sound is basic amateur. I don't want to listen to it. You're never going to get there, you know?
Heavy, crazy, man. The part of the subject matter and part of relating to it, and in like we're talking about, like the journey that you go through, and even relating it to God now, is that even in the titles of the track, man, deep and then dark in the night. It's just like what I took from it is that it was relating to maybe a scenario you were in or had been in before, and it's just like it's as part of your environment, and you're just kind of like a witness to it, but you're also deep involved in it, as the track title says. And then one of your next releases in 2018, Way Out, is an entire contrast of that. Is there a reason that you wanted to build that entire contrast?
You know, honestly, it's like that's like um, a new eyesight for me to look out of, like a different perspective is what I mean to say. I've
Oh,
never looked
okay.
at it that way, but if you literally sit back, like I've never analyzed my own music. I'm always just like, ought to be
Oh no,
better. I could do better.
for sure, for sure.
But that literally like is like facts right there. Literally, I was exactly how you explained that. And then a way out is me transitioning, finding my way out, and then building to the stature. So I'd say you definitely hit that like right on the head.
It's really interesting because it's like this is like the last 2-3 years, I guess, now, since we're almost out of 2020. But
Mhm.
like you said, you were sitting on the project for a while. So when you were releasing it, was this still kind of your environment that you during like kind of Way Out was your transition out? And then in 2019 you've got tracks that are completely against that grain, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. And the big switch is like where before I was jumping ahead of myself was the following preceding year. There's a lot of people I worked with on the beginning, and a lot of it was like, you know, I totally respect the fact that I'm starting up, that my sound and my equipment and my maybe not my equipment, but more my knowledge and my skill is
For
lacking
sure,
and not
yeah.
there. But there's a lot of manipulation and a lot of I'll help you, exposure. This do this for free, do this for $20, do this for $0. We're in a team, and then I was always about the team and building a team, because you look at TDE and like Good Music and all those kind of guys that have built, you know, strength in numbers. But a lot of it was do this, do that, do all this for free, and my time was dedicated and devoted into other people's projects. And it really hit me at the end of that year when I got my Spotify unwrapped, and it was like you have a total of like 58 minutes streaming. So it's like, it wasn't even an hour. It's like, this is my future. And I've given all these guys my time, energy, effort. And, you know, was the money there? No. Was the equal, like, okay, you do this, I do this, we balance each other out? There's not there. There's a lot of, you know, situations of like financial where, you know, you're putting up money and the other side of it's just like, you know, oh, I put up money last month, so I'm not putting up this month. And it's like very mean, you know, like irrelevant shit. And it's like you're trying to build a brand, but it's just like picking at each other. And then you look at where have those people gone with the product that you've given them. Sure, it's not the greatest product, but the promotion is like less than 2 weeks, and then there's no more follow up to it. They don't care about it. They're living their life, going to the bar, doing their thing, and teach its own. Everybody's got to go through their own journey. But the way out was really just I'm giving everybody my everything, and I'm spinning in a circle. And where I want to go is going absolutely nowhere.
Dude, that's so amazing, because even you said it, the line is, or you said it in the track, the line is, take care of myself, that's all I care about.
You know, exactly.
And that's more or less the way out.
And that's, yeah, and that's like that's where your fundamentals should be. So I kind of reassess myself and say, you know what, like I give them all. And at the beginning of that year, I did separate from a whole bunch of people. And you know, the sad part of it was I had a couple of shows, and you know, the first two shows, none of them showed up to it. The third show, I don't think anybody showed up to it. The fourth show, some of those people started to show up to it. But it's like, you know, a lot of people wouldn't really give me the time of day because I wasn't sacrificing my whole livelihood to give them a product for free.
Ah, love that. We're gonna take that quick break that I told you about. Sound good?
Cool, yeah.
Beauty. All right. We're gonna listen to a track by Nolan Ryan. This one is called All White. Enjoy.
That's a feeling that I've been trying to know. Caught her looking little mama, now to focus. Double back so she know that I notice. Locomotion, chugging, smoking liquid potion. Hold that, adjust my collar, case she holler. Gotta make sure that I'm proper. Tryna keep my hands by my waist, but she giving me that eye, so there ain't no time to waste. Suit cuffs all linen, all white. Don't step on scuff of my nights. I'm sipping, tryna catch on these vibes. Gon' roll it up, let's catch a flight. Let's catch a flight. Baby, I just wanna taste, yeah. Treat you how I treat my liquor. I don't want the chase. We can both just leave this place right now. I see the way you're staring in my eyes right now. Just come up in the whip. We can hit my spot and have something to sip. This is me shooting my shot. Shotty, please don't let me break. Let's make this night a flick. I know that we're strangers, but we could be something if that's alright. Suit cuffs all linen, all white. Don't step on scuff of my nights. I'm sipping, tryna catch on these vibes. Gon' roll it up, let's catch a flight.
What is good, everybody? I am back with Nolan Ryan. How you feeling, bro?
Good, man. Still
Yeah.
here living, another day in paradise.
Living. Yeah, here we go, man. Paradise of the mind, right? We were just talking about your track Way Out before we listened to one of your tracks there in the middle, talking about transition kind of in that regard. The main focus being taking care of yourself, that being all you care about, or the main thing to being taking care of yourself. Shortly after in 2019, you released Sober Freestyle, I can see here.
Yeah, so Sober Freestyle, that was really, as we left off there, that was me just like separating and just being like, it's time to sober up. It's time to, look in the mirror and really see like what's good. Like I was very dived in and just focused on putting the pieces together and just building traction, just dumping on music and just do a video, do a song back to back to back to back, but never looking at the business, never looking at the big picture. And Sober, it was just like, sobering up and saying, man, some people got to go, some things got to be more prioritized than other. And started off big with that one. Yeah, that one got a lot of love.
Oh, dude, it's a really dope track. But did this all happen kind of like overnight, or was it a transition?
It was kind of just slowly building up. I was starting to see cracks and flaws in certain situations, and
Relating to like overall life, or relating to music and career?
Relating to just definitely like disciplined routines on myself. Relating to relationships within industries, relationships with homies, and just
all of
a
the
lot
above.
of that. Yeah, all the above and surrounding. Just kind of seeing it all starting, just seeing it from a new perspective, I guess you could say.
And so sobriety seemed to be the key.
Yeah, that seemed to be the key. Even though I didn't start with sobriety at that point yet, but actually,
well, I guess it's the goal. Sobriety as an intention seems to be the path. Let's call it.
Yeah, exactly. But in a sense, though, too, I also had there was a project I was working on within that called Migraine Aura. So I had I get these migraines. I always had them as a kid. I think it's from like getting concussions in football or just.
Oh shit!
I'm pretty sure that's what my conclusion has been.
Yo, how often?
They would kind of come and go randomly, and then I kind of pinpointed them down to when I get really drunk. Because I found when I used to drink, I would be like very excessive with it, and like, okay, I'm at this point, I need to sustain this point, and then go overboard, and then I would have my hangover, and the following day, I would get these migraines and like these like crippling migraines, and they got worse and worse to the point where like my arm would go numb and my face would go numb, and like it expanded to like I thought I was having like a brain aneurysm or a stroke because like I couldn't connect. Like in a sense, football players, like if you said like Rob Gronkowski or like Tom Brady or like Peyton Manning, I didn't have any connection in my brain to like who they were. I just knew the names,
That's like kind of the state your mind was in during these?
No, that's just what so I like went to the doctors and got checked out, and it ended up being that I have migraine aura. So the migraine was induced with this aura to the fact of like where I couldn't connect these things, and the fact of me drinking and like getting hungover. My conclusion of it is like I feel like when you drink, you deplete all that water and that oxygen from your brain. So then the next day after the hangover, it goes into shock. So then that was my body just like, being like, here's you're getting the full force of this. So then me sobering up was me, like, I guess in a sense, yeah, it was me cutting the alcohol down like severely to like, if I'm out drinking, it's like 2-3 drinks, like I'll get a buzz, I'll catch a vibe, but like there's no need to be excessive, because that's what I have to deal with.
Interesting, man. See, when my knowledge of migraine auras, I thought it was literally because I've experienced migraines before as well, crippling, not to the extent that you have. That's insane. But my thought of migraine auras was it was like your eyesight, you just kind of see a little bit of like the light kind of creates halos type thing. I had no idea it was like a physiological brain thing. That's crazy.
I think it's more of like the deeper part of it, because if you look it up, it does say like the whole like mirage, like an aura.
Yeah.
And
It's like part of it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I feel like the doctor is very just like, because like I went in there once and like it happened once and it went away, and then it happened again, and I was like, okay, I need to go. And I call like that health link, and they're like pretty much 10 out of 10 times they're going to tell you to go there, because if you die and we don't tell you to go there, it's on us.
Yeah.
So I was there from like 11 to like 4 a.m. I'm like, yo, I'm out of here. And then we went back, and like the doctor's like, it's super busy, but based on what you're telling me, this is what you have. So it was never like,
Oh, dude. That's like I said, I've experienced migraines before, and no doctor I've ever been to has told me anything useful or prescribed me anything that actually has been effective.
yeah, they're just like, take journals or Google shit, or like, I don't know, it's very touch and go. And now it's like, good luck.
Oh, dude, for sure. No one actually has it figured out. Well, do you have, I guess that's where we're going with this. You were talking about a product?
Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I said I guess that's where we were going with this, because I never found an actual solution. Have you?
Oh, there's a guy I used to work with, and he gave me the secret sauce. And like,
The secret sauce.
so like they do tell you, the one guy told me is taking a leave, and if it's like well, I can feel the migraine coming on, because like I'll start to disassociate thoughts, and then my arm will go numb, my face will go numb. But if I take in a leave, then that just like it like neutralizes it. But also like you don't want to like abuse that, because it's like bad on your liver and so on and so forth, and you probably become dependent. So like one's not going to do it, so you need two, and I need three, and like but the secret sauce is, this guy I used to work with, he's like, honestly, he's like, drink Gatorade, because Gatorade's going to revitalize those electrolytes and shit. And like that's my savior. Every time a migraine or headache comes on, I just like slam back Gatorade.
No shit.
And it's like it works. It's 10 out of 10 times it saved me.
What? 10 out of 10? So even to this day, do you still feel them coming on to this day?
I don't get them excessive. I do if I like my body, I feel is in a regimen. If I don't eat at certain times or like stress it and pull away like water and like food, that they'll creep in and I can feel them. So I just like drink the Gatorade. But yeah, I've never had like the extent of what they were, just because I don't drink excessively anymore.
Interesting. That's crazy. I wonder if that's was related to mine as well, because I don't really drink excessively anymore, and it's been about 2 years since I had a migraine. I can't really remember my last one.
Yeah, maybe I do feel like that whole concept that I've like that when I put my doctor hat on and I figured like, okay, it's because you're hungover, your brain doesn't have water or oxygen.
Yeah.
I was used to say your brain like, I feel like your brain like swells up or like shrinks, maybe, I don't know, some shit of like it's not being, it's not getting nutrients and shit. So that's like what causes that. Like goes in shock, and it's like, here's a migraine, congratulations.
Oh, that's such a trip, man. Well, okay, back to your music. Like around that time, it also seems like you're relating this era to somebody personal in your life, because I feel like there's some reference in your lyrics as well as in your track "Beige Laurent Skirt."
Right. So there's like I don't know. There's within this whole transition, like I always believed in, this is kind of like a off topic, but it's still on topic. So I always believe that like I always want eternal life and like to live forever. Obviously all gonna die.
Yeah.
But
I know. I feel you on that.
Yeah, not some like Russian put my brain in a robot type thing, but like just like eternal life, like
just immortalize myself.
Exactly. So that, and then just like I'm always like very fixated or like very passionate about love, but like purest like real love, like the core of it, not like, oh, I love you, or like I love the taste of this type thing. Like
Yeah, it goes without saying. It's like more of a feeling than you can describe it.
Exactly. It's like you're willing to like die for this person because it's like that deep.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was very fixated on that. So I was very like, so eventually, just speaking with different people and situations, and like, God kind of came into my conversation. I started praying to God and stuff, and then different people spoke with me, and like, a lot of religions are very culty and like shove it down your throat. Like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to be here, you need to think this, you need to act this. But then they all, not all of them, but a lot of them do that, and then you talk to them, and they're sitting there bashing people, and they're sitting there sinning, and they're sitting there, doing the opposite of what they're trying to shove down your throat.
Yeah,
But they're like on
I
your
feel
throat,
that, dude.
being like, you need to do this. Like, you were never gonna. It's like everything you're doing is just a waste of time because you're not doing this. So then,
Yeah, it's just built for like condemning.
yeah, and like I took my interpretation, and people saying you need to go to church and you accept Christ in your heart, and I was like, you know what? When the time comes that I found God, and the time comes that I accept Christ, and the time comes that I go to church, and the time comes that I pray to God and do all these things, is when God decides for me to do that. And when the time comes, I'm not going to force it. And if it never happens, it never happens.
But you believe in God.
Yeah, I believe in God, and I've definitely accepted Christ in my heart and had a huge shift in my life because of that.
I like the way that you say it, man. I like the way that you say it like that. That's really cool. And it brings us to this next track as well that you've also released in 2019 titled Angels. This one's on YouTube, I found.
Yeah, angels. So that all intertwined in the sense of all that. So the references in the, as you were saying before, just backtracking, but it was all kind of this. So with all this alignment, I found like, there's one person for you. There's a person you're meant to be with. So I was kind of infatuated, I guess you could say, with somebody that like I started connecting things, and maybe it was true. Maybe down the future, I was seeing something, but I had a lot of passion for them. So they kind of inspired those couple of songs like Beige on Skirt and a couple of things like that, and just things that I did to them and certain things that I feel were past the line. But I mean,
it's a hypothetical person.
No, it is a real person.
Oh, it's a real person. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I guess in this situation is maybe hypothetical because I don't know things. Maybe it's all about timing, right? Maybe the timing wasn't right, so I let it be what it is. But so a lot of that, and then Angels was kind of going off to it was like a dedication to my auntie who passed, and there's things like with her, like I was recently told around that time that like when I was born, the umbilical cord was like wrapped around my neck. And my mom didn't know, so she's like, giving birth, like pushing whatever. And my aunt was there and saw it, and she's like, "Whoa, stop! He's choking!" So she literally like saved my life.
Oh damn, that's a
Because
crazy
the doctor
story.
was like, "Yeah," the doctor is like down the hall. He's like, "Yeah, you're good. You're not gonna give birth. Like whatever. I'm going on break." And like boom, the water burst, and like my auntie like somewhat, gave like was the doctor in that situation.
That's absolutely wild, dude. And then so this track Angels is more or less entirely a dedication to her.
Yeah, in a sense, I kind of wrote it. I was like working on like writing music from different perspectives, and I kind of wrote it from like my dad's perspective and like their like the things they've told me about their growing up. So like she passed around that time. Well, she passed like several years prior to that, but it was kind of
fresh enough.
Yeah, it was fresh enough, and it needed to be fleshed out, and like so that was like a big dedication to her.
If I was to draw a connection to it, it would I would say that it's because it like took. If you said it was a couple of years, but this is like kind of a point in your life where you're like getting more connected to God, and you're realizing that her death wasn't actually like a loss necessarily, because she's still like not only the reason you're here, but an influence.
Yeah, 100%. And she had such a big impact on the family and like everything she brought together, and like there's a lot of like destruction within the family that like I wouldn't say it was covered up, but essentially it was like
It was kept hush.
Yeah, in a sense, like it was ignored because like it was irrelevant. And then like as soon as she passed, a lot of things came to light, and a lot of people like showed their colors. They were just like nobody really knew the colors in a sense, like as a whole, but it was like people were scheming and plotting, and like it all kind of came to the forefront.
It always seems to.
Right, that's when it comes in. It wasn't even like a money thing. Well, I mean, money's always there's always a toe in the water
somehow. Yeah,
but
yeah.
So yeah, no.
I feel you there, man. Well, also in 2019, you released an EP, a 6-track, Patiently Impatient. And I feel like this is you stepping into your role there as Nolan Ryan. The title track itself, the music video, so well done, man. I really enjoyed doing this. You make I wanted to say this at the beginning of the interview, actually, but like you made my job very enjoyable here. for the majority, actually for all the music, to be honest. But Patiently Impatient was something special. Let's talk about what made you want to make this into the EP that it is.
Well, I appreciate that, first of all. Yeah, Patiently Impatient was like, because I was working on Migraine Aura, trying to come with that. And I don't know, I got sidetracked and I started to, a friend of mine, I was like, I need a manager. I can't do social media, networking, videos, mixing, recording, writing. It's just like, it was overwhelming. And so I kind of brought him on board, and he's like, we need to get a project together. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of working on something. So there's a couple songs that got stripped off of Patiently Impatient, but Patiently Impatient is really just like putting together like I wanted it to be an album, but the songs that stripped it off dropped it down to an EP.
Okay.
And that was really just like intertwining what I was saying about that whole, like, I thought this one was the one for me, and like just kind of like trying to tie that all together and like really flesh out all those feelings and like emotions and like, like certain things. Like if you take into context like her and like me, seeing the fundamentals of maybe where I'm meant to be, maybe timing's wrong, or maybe the timing's, there is no timing, that it is a facade, but all of those things were kind of just like connecting the pieces of like feeling this way of like, a Capricorn and a Taurus, think about it, I'm gonna leave it there, just like little subtleties and stuff. And like, I don't know, that whole project was just really of me like getting the brand together and like, okay, we're gonna take this to the level that it needs to be at, because I've been just doing EPs and not EPs, like singles and videos and touch and go. So like we bought merch, we got clothing design, we got CDs pressed. We did my first show was exclusively me. We reached out to these guys at Industry House and did a full like release show product there. So it's just like handling all that back end and like doing the full production of what it could be. And that's what Patiently Impatient ended up being.
That's wild, dude. Absolutely wild. So is Patiently Impatient and entirely self-produced, self-created? Who's we when you say we?
So we, in the sense of like my manager, when I put him on, and we were grinding that, and like he was like helping fund things and like handle things like talk. I was like, yo, can you talk to the merch guy? Can you do this? So essentially, with Cheese, Cheese was fully produced by me, recorded, written, all that stuff, mixed, mastered. Oh no, I outsourced the mixing and mastering. And then with Patiently Impatient,
and you did the music videos though. Don't forget that, right?
Yeah, all that, all the promo, all the videos, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then Patiently Impatient, I didn't want to produce anything, because I was like finding myself in like, because I like spread myself so thin, like the amount of many hats, like I record, mix, produce, shoot video, edit, blah 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 blah. And I was like, I was like, my beats weren't good, and I was like beating myself up, and it's like, yo, literally some guys are spending, like Kanye says, what is it, 3 beats a day, or is it 5 beats a day for 3 summers? I deserve to do these numbers type thing. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm not doing that. And there's guys literally doing 3-4 beats a day. I'm doing
for sure
a beat a week, a beat a month. So I can't expect my shit. And I'm leaving for 2 months and coming back. So like I got to find the rhythm. So I got it all outsourced. So there was, I'm just looking at the back of this product here, the tape here. 2 guys were in the city, 3 guys were in the city. 1 guy was on YouTube that I found. So everything was outsourced production wise, but I handled all the mixing aspect of it. So when I was saying we, I guess in the sense of, I guess like the collective of everyone that like was in this, whether they were like, and like even like Breezy, he was a homie. I hope man's like, the homie played me this audio recording. He sent him on Snapchat. I was like, yo, that's the interlude. Send me that.
That's dope. I love the way this project came together, man. Sorry, I'm just peeking at it right now too.
No,
is it 6 track? Did I get that wrong?
Or 5. It was 5 because it's the interlude.
Because the interlude. Okay, I see. That's dope, man. All right, well, let's come into some of your 2020 stuff, since we are running over on time here as well, or running into overtime. You released recently a 5-track EP, COVID Negative.
Right.
Is that what you call it, COVID Negative?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope, dude. What's the inspiration behind this? Also in 2020, you released it. Actually, here, let's talk about Blessings first, sorry, before we get into COVID Negative, because you released that track prior to COVID Negative, right?
Right.
And it's still in 2020?
Yeah, so Blessings was kind of just like tapping into the more like Christian side of me and just like embracing God and stuff. I was really like, so like the way Blessings came about, what I did in, it was 2019. So in November, okay. Sorry, my days are messed. I'm stuck in this 2020,
dude, that's okay.
you know?
It's almost over, man.
right? So November, I was like, okay, I need to lock down into this album. Because what I was gonna do is I was gonna, oh no, okay, I was gonna do this album. So I was like, I want to produce 50 beats. So little backtrack. There was a situation with Patiently Impatient where one of the producers was on some bullshit, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with this. Whatever, bro. So I'm just gonna produce it all. So there's never like whatever, right? So
Yeah.
so I produced 50 tracks, and what I wanted to do is like, since I'm doing it all, I wanted to keep it fresh and not like cheese. Like those songs were so old because like I would touch them and then like leave it and then do it again and get sick of it. So I had to keep coming and going. So I went 50 beats all the way through. I wanted to produce an 8-bar loop. I did 45. I was like, okay, this is a lot. And then I went back and arranged all 45 of those. And I went back and ran vocal melodies on all those. And then went back and wrote to all those. So that was going to be the album. And then I went to this meeting with my manager there. And I was like, yo, I just want to drop this album. He's like, honestly, you're going to put all this work in and drop this album to go on deaf ears. Like, you need something to kind of build with it. So Blessings was within that discography. And so then that's how that came to be. So I was like, well, let's just have some content fillers. So he's like, the way the industry works now is it's like, labels are going to drop singles until something pops. Okay, now we'll package it and sell it with an album, right?
Sure.
So he's like, let's just do that. See what people fuck with, and then we can do a video for it, and we can push it, and then do the album. So Blessings was just one of those like, let's try this. Maybe let's go on Christian radio. I mean, I didn't like promote it enough to really get to that level, which it probably could have, but
Damn, dude, that's crazy. I want to talk about you and your relationship with your manager as well, because not a lot of artists these days have managers or a team like that they actually respect the ear of, you know?
Right. So shouts out to him because he put me in front of a lot of people in the city, and like a lot of, in a sense, like, because like my biggest thing is he knew clubs and he knew promoters because he worked in there. So I was like, yo, this would be perfect. So you can handle that back end. So he introduced some people.
Him up? Where'd you
He was
first
just a
meet him?
homie.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. So I was like, yo, if you're down, like, you know, it's up to you, really. You want to throw some investment my way, I'll cover you back. Like, it's 50-50, you know, whatever. And then eventually I'll pay you when I can pay you. So he introduced me to a couple people, and we did some back and forth, and I played some music for some guys, and they gave me some feedback, and just going with that. Unfortunately, we did part ways. You know, no shade on nobody. It's really comes down to, it's like, he's at a certain point in his life, I'm at a certain point in my life, and like,
yeah,
I'm not really, in a sense, providing that value at this point for him to really invest all this time. And I mean, he's working on getting a house and, you know, doing his personal things, and his girlfriend, and like, so I mean, he's got to handle his journey, I got to handle mine, and maybe if our paths realign, then, you know, the blessing. But yeah, it was more just kind of getting the whole Patiently Impatient done out properly, and then we kind of just fell to the wayside based on like own personal aspirations, I guess you could say.
Fair. Okay, I see that. And then so moving on to COVID negative then.
Right. So the album was gonna get dropped, and then I was tripping out that I had COVID. So
fuck, that's what I was thinking. I was based off his scare.
You know? And like everybody did like the COVID tape or the quarantine tape. It was gonna be called the quarantine
just the
tape.
Fuck
I was
2020 tape, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, bro, I can't just do that. So like so I chilled out for a bit, and like I was like, yeah, I don't know if COVID, I got tested, I didn't have it. And then it came back again, and I was like, man, like, because I was like going to bed, like I couldn't like breathe and shit. I was like, holy fuck, like,
oh shit.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna close my eyes, sit up straight, hopefully. So I started like doing yoga and stuff to like help myself breathe. And like at the same time, May 1st on my birthday, I completely stopped smoking weed. I was like, I need to just like cut weed out for a whole year, just do a giant reset.
Yeah.
So my body might have went in shock, and I started exercising, like running around the block and shit again. So like, and I have asthma, so like I shocked my lungs, but like I had asthma originally, and they gave me like a puffer like 4 or 5 years ago, and I became dependent on it in like 2 days. I threw that shit out, and I was fine. And then it just flared up, and like a lot of people I talked to have flared up because like just the way the seasons were like last year. So like, you know, I went and got like an inhaler, and everything was all Gucci, but it ended up being like I literally gave myself a panic attack like both times. And like if you look up COVID symptoms and like panic attack, like shortness of breath, you know, confusion, like they're literally hand in hand.
Oh fuck yeah.
Right. So
that's crazy.
So the COVID negative was that project. So then I was gonna do a 420 tape. That's what I was working on.
Okay.
And then I thought I had COVID, so I was like, that's why all they're very like weed based songs.
Yeah.
So it was the 420 tape. So anyways, yeah. So that's what COVID negative ended up being.
That's hilarious, dude. I love that story too. Man, the panic though.
Right.
Fuck.
And like it felt like my tongue was swelling up and I couldn't breathe, and it's just like, yo, chill. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
And that's never happened to you before like that?
No, I was just like, because I was looking at things as like, you know, like I'm gonna affect people around me, people I'm hanging out with, like.
Oh, dude, it
You
was
know?
just this. It was like you catch 22 to yourself. You got into a hole you can get out of.
Yeah, and like everything I've touched, like the thing that like overwhelms me is I'm very OCD with cleanliness. It's like now I
Yeah.
literally gotta clean my house. I'm like, bro, I don't want to sit there for 3 days and do that.
Yeah, I feel you.
Fuck.
Fuck. Well, all right, dude. We are running into overtime here. Is there anything that's coming up in the future, or any way you want to sign off this podcast with for anyone who's listening?
Yeah, so I just want to sign it off with the album that got put in the vault. We're back on production, upgraded the studio equipment, so that's going to be juicy.
Hey.
Getting that ready, going to finish that out, drop that out early next year. I don't want to rush it. All White featuring Chubba is dropped, so that thing's going to be out. Y'all can stream that. I got a couple singles I'm just going to feed to the end of this year and then prep up for this album drop and just get that out. And then just keep the content flooding, keep the growth growing, you know?
What's the ETA on the rebrand too?
I wanted to start off January with it, but it's not ready. I want to establish some things first in 2021. And like I might end the season off, or we might start 2022 just like boom. I'm probably thinking like mid 2021 is when I want to like I gotta get the catalog built up for it, and then just like feed
but
them
sooner than you know it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's dope, man. Well, thank you so much, Nolan Ryan. I really appreciate you taking the time and having this chat with me.
No, definitely. Thank you for having me, man. Most appreciated.
Of course, brother. All right, take care, homie.
All right, blessings. One time.
Yeah, peace. Thank you for tuning in to that interview with Nolan Ryan. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn a little bit more about him and connect on his socials, head on down to www.reevolvemedia.com/Nolan Ryan. And we are going to end the episode with another track by him. This one is called Routine. Enjoy and take care.
Dream, but it wasn't. I've been trying to get sleep, but I couldn't. Try to put you on a team, but you wouldn't. Give me more than just the reason why I shouldn't. Long nights with no lights. Feelings really got in between. Maybe in another life. Could've sold the denim at the seam. I'm looking at the highlights. Just another player on the team. Forgetting the last fight. The same old routine. Yeah. Should've let the past get in the way. Tryna look past the little things while you endure the damage. Yeah. Opinions, they reflecting like mirrors. You right beside me, but not in the mirror. Told you the truth, but you didn't hear it. Long nights with no lights. Feelings really got in between. Maybe in another life. Could've sold the denim at the seam. I'm looking at the highlights. Just another player on the team. Forgetting the last fight. The same old routine. Long nights with no lights. Feelings really got in between. Maybe in another life. Could've sold the denim at the seam. I'm looking at the highlights. Just another player on the team. Forgetting the last fight. The same old routine. Using your past as a crutch, oh I look past that for lust. Still, fucking you wasn't enough. Yeah. All the trauma became drama. Stole prescriptions from your mama. Why bother resolving it when you can just
Long
solve
nights
it?
with no lights. Feelings really got in between. Maybe in another life. Could've sold the denim at the seam. I'm looking at the highlights. Just another player on the team. Forgetting the last fight. The same old routine. Said this was just a dream, but it wasn't. I've been trying to get sleep, but I couldn't. Try to put you on the team, but you wouldn't. Give me more than just the reason why I shouldn't. Said that this was just a dream, but it wasn't. I've been trying to get sleep, but I couldn't. Try to put you on the team, but you wouldn't. Give me more than just the reason why I shouldn't.